Soledad doesn't feel like H belongs in Washington Heights. Feelings unbelonging plus threatening Soledad was sending her SR further identifying those feelings of belonging. To write a definite novel of a New York neighborhood can be strike literally gold. Just ask Jonathan Liefman, Washington Heights native and Dominican activist Cruz. Stakes a clumsy claim to the area with this overwrought first effort. Soledad, a talented young artist on scholarship at Cooper Union, has finally escaped 164th Street for a downtown apartment. When she's called back home for the summer to take care of her mom, for her widowed mother, Olivia, who has fallen into a psychomatic coma. She's forced to confront the family secrets behind her father's death, and her stained relationship with Olivia. Much of the novel is told from the point of view of Soledad's female relatives. Her Aunt Gorda La Bruja, who treats her sister's ailments with home remedies and ceremonies. Her cousin Flaca, a fiery adolescent whose rivalry with Soledad is the main subplot. And Olivia herself in an idolized dream narration and flashbacks. These characters are more interesting than Soledad, a standard issue cut between two words. Heroine, but they are hardly three-dimensional. While Cruz sometimes captures fresh details of behavior and the rhythms of Dominican neighborhood life, she readily lets them work alone. Often to tell rather than to show her characters psychology passages that read like particularly banal therapy sessions. Okay, so we could go over some of the questions. First of all, what was your opinion? What was your not opinion, but your first thought when you started reading Soledad?
I thought it was interesting how she started with us just getting to know the characters. There wasn't a specific plot or a specific meaning as to why she was telling the story besides Olivia, who is the meat and the line that keeps everyone together, even though she barely has any lines or you just get to see her reflection sometimes. But getting to know the characters, and I remember one of the chapters was Ciego and Victor, and that was my favorite character, just hearing the old and the young talking and on their doorsteps in front of the hood. So that was really nice.
I feel like it was very homey as to I don't live particularly in 164, but I live close to it, and just the area alone. I live Dykeman, obviously, and it feels like it's very homey. I can relate so much to Soledad wanting to leave, because when I started college, I was trying to escape the whole Washington Heights area, and yet my first apartment is 3 blocks down from where I grew up. So I definitely do feel I can relate a lot to Soledad in a lot of different aspects of trying to escape, but then at the same time coming back to your roots.
Do you feel like Soledad's reason not to want to come back are valid?
I think people want to run away from what they don't understand, especially if it's their culture, their upbringing. I mean, I know a lot of people who want to run away from their Dominicanism, and I'm sure that's not exclusive to our culture at all. I have a cousin, for example, that lives with me who, although he embraces it when it's, I think, convenient, he pushes it away a lot of times. I personally don't support that. I'm in my own journey of trying to, over the last few years, sharpen my Spanish. I'm trying to learn more about the culture, and so more than anything, I'm trying to embrace it. So just because of where I stand right now, I don't think it's valid. No.
I think I also do think that it's society brings that to us, and the whole, especially here in the United States, it's I don't like it. Where it just makes you want to try and get into a more upper class standpoint, because upper class means more money, means better careers, means a better eventually living situation. And it's not like that in real life.
I think growing growing up in it, you always want to see like what's outside of it. And so I do think that her reasonings for leaving was valid. Was it right? No, but like I still didn't finish the book, but even throughout the book when she's back, she's like angry most of the time. And she's not like even appreciating, she's just mad that she's there. And I don't know if there's a point at the end of the book where she reflects that like this is valuable time that I'm having, which I kind of see it happening because she's like considering her mom and like her hardships a little bit more. But I think that for Soledad, like she had to leave. Like for her, there was no other way to get out, and like I don't think she's at a point where she can still appreciate her culture. And I don't think that she would be if she didn't leave and like go through this experience.
Do you think at some point she's like ashamed of where she comes from?
Oh,
I think so. I think especially when she's talking about like working at the art gallery, it's almost like she's not as accepted in the environment, and I think even she talks about her boss having a thing against her being an artist and this, but I think you can tell in that interaction that there's more to it than just that. And so I feel like, especially, or even when she's describing where she lives, right, or where she's from, you know, her friend, Caramela, no?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So she says, why are you describing like that? It's Washington Heights. Like, say where you're from.
She lives on the Upper West Side.
Yeah, that's what she said. She's from like Upper West Side, which is, I mean,
It's a little more different.
yeah, it's not Upper West Side at all.
Well, she describes it when she's on the train that after a certain stop, the faces change, right? That you no longer see the white people don't go up that far, which has changed because now it's not like that.
Yeah.
But back then, you know, you could tell who lived uptown and who lived further down.
Yeah, and I feel like she hasn't accepted herself in particularly. So until she accepts herself, she's not gonna be able to want to embrace in her culture, embracing her roots, embracing the color of her skin or who she actually is.
I do think that she's embarrassed because, for instance, she mentions that instead of saying that she's from Washington Heights, she just says the Upper West East Side or West Side. Also, because this place is associated with negative stereotypes, at least in her mind. And again, she just rather feels more proud saying that she lives in downtown and that she likes it better there. And she's no longer close to her family, which shows a little bit of cultural assimilation with mostly identifying as an American rather than with her Dominican roots and her closeness with her family. And also, she craved new experience to travel to other countries. I remember when she's talking to her friend Caramel that she wants to go to Spain and goes to certain cafes and have some certain experiences. That sounds like she craves like for a more luxurious life. And also she's comparing herself to her cousin Flaca, that her cousin's in the streets, meanwhile she's not. She's growing as a professional. She takes pride in working in this art gallery with all these prestigious people. Also, she feels like an outsider as well when she's actually going home in Washington Heights and seeing how the girls from that neighborhood stare at her, and actually she's make her seem as if she was a blanquita, not only because of the way she will behave, but also the way she will dress, and she will herself will feel like disconnected from those people. And also, Soledad was seen as someone who was very ungrateful for her family, because basically in our culture it's all about family and being together and supporting each other no matter what. But Soledad, I sort of give her credit in the sense that she wanted to create boundaries with her family, because not only, family is important, but also you have to have the opportunity to grow and experience this other whole culture to which you were exposed to, because she grew up here. And it's kind of tough, to carry those roots and, embrace them, but also living in this society that's completely different from your family views or customs and all that.
And that's hard. I think like for Hispanics to create like, you're expected to be always there for family no matter what, because you are familia and blood is blood and it's thicker than water and all that. And it's so hard sometimes to create those boundaries where it's like, okay, I have time for me, or I have to go away for whatever reason it is. And the way she was treated somehow like, you know, like you a traitor, like you left us, you know, especially for Flaca. That was something that, well, I wanted to mention something before getting into Flaca. It was like when I read the part about the West, Soledad saying that she was from the Upper West Side. At the same time, I felt like even though she was kind of like trying not to, you know, tell where she came from, you know, her roots, but it was also like protecting her identity somehow because of the stigma that Washington Heights used to carry, you know, at that time. So probably saying, she didn't want to hear someone say like, oh, you're from Washington Heights, like that's where you grew up, that's where you live. So probably also saying that, you know, I'm from the Upper West Side, it was just like not to hear those negative connotations about her culture.
I agree, because my mom came here around the 70s, in the mid early 70s, and she would tell me that she'll be leaving her building and there's like dead bodies on the floor. So just from the things that you would hear from the news and what was being portrayed, not just obviously in New York, but like all across the country of what Uptown Manhattan was. Like even when I started my first corporate job, I was like, oh, I'm from Uptown. We're in Uptown. I was like, oh, just a little past XYZ. But now it's like I carry it on my shoulders. And my new job, I'm like, yeah, I'm from Washington Heights, right around Dyckman, that area that everyone knows now.
The Dyckman Strip.
Not everything's popping, basically.
Yeah.
And I remember, just in terms of that, I just wanted to add, well, I remember when I was in college and I will introduce myself and people will be like, oh, where are you from? Because of course my physical appearance. And I'll say I'm Dominican, but then I'll have to explain myself and say I am Dominican, but I was born in the island. I'm not like the Dominicans from over here. Because not only, yes, there might be some negative stereotypes associated with the Dominicans in New York City, but also in my own experience when I would interact with them going to high school here and going to college, I felt like completely disconnected. I don't know why, but I just felt like I couldn't associate with Dominicans, at least that grew up here. So I struggle a lot actually with that. And for a while I wouldn't really have a lot of Dominican friends because I just couldn't fit in with at least, you know, whatever they were into and the things that I was into. And it was like conflicting like for a long time.
I completely felt the same way. Like coming, like growing up in the Dominican Republic and coming here, I was like, no, you know, I was so like somehow it was better to me to say that I was from Harlem, you know, than from Washington Heights. So people would ask me like, oh no, I live in Harlem, you know. I don't know why, like.
Because you didn't want to be associated with the Dominicans.
I also remember I was like probably 18 and I was coming back from DR. That was when American Airlines used to fly over there. And on the way back here, there was a flight. When we were like flying, there was a fight inside the airplane. And I felt like so ashamed somehow. And well, you're supposed to. It was like terrible. And I'm like, oh my God, why are you guys doing this? And there was like a white person right next to me. And I looked and like, he was like, so like, what's going on? And I looked at him and I was like, those Dominican people. Like I wasn't part of them either, but like now I understand like you saying those things, but then like you have an accent, so how you talking about like those Dominican people and you know like you part of them too. To move on, something that it was like amazing to me is Soledad's relationship with me. Somehow.
What do you mean?
I have a little cousin, she's younger than me, and we grew up together. And somehow I felt like Soledad, and I felt like my cousin was Flaca. And I was kind of able to understand my cousin, reading, you know, about Flaca's character. And I could be wrong, but I think we'll have a Flaca at home. And somehow I think they don't know how to express their love and how they look up to us. And it becomes like a conflict, you know? What do you think?
I agree. I can say that I got more in tune with Flaca because I feel like I was Flaca when I was younger. Most of my cousins cousins that I'm closer to are older than me. I was not a fighter though, nowhere near a fighter. But I can relate in the whole aspect of like being boy crazy at that age of 13, 14 years old, wanting to get out, except my mom didn't really let me out much. And just having that like kind of imagination of like building character of other people in your head, but also learning how to like try to find yourself and be patient, because I feel like she is still in that whole aspect of self-discovery and of understanding how people around her react. How does that make her feel, and what are they really trying to tell her through that? Or maybe it's just harmless, like just trying to understand that just someone walking by doesn't mean that it's like they're trying to attack you or anything.
I think I was surprised that Flocka was as reflective as she is throughout the book.
That's a good point.
And for me, like hearing her, like her actions, like no one would know. Like all the other characters just like felt like she was fiery. She always wanted to start an issue, but like she was very reflective in the way that she went about her, the way she wanted to react to things. Like, and she chose to be that way. Even when she was talking with Ciego, like on the doorstep, whatever, before Richie came, like she was like, so how mad do I have to be with someone to kill them? And it's just like, she's
Like
really,
still contemplating.
she's still contemplating, she's still thinking that she's still naive, but she's still like, okay, is this the right choice? And I think that one of the reasons why she was so upset with Soledad was like, damn, I looked up to you when you just left. Like, you just left all of us and you want to come back and like tell us what to do. Like, you haven't been here for a very long time. Like, don't come back with authority when you haven't been here. Especially because she's so close to Soledad's mom and they have a very special relationship.
And I also do think that that's something very strong within the Hispanic community, that it's like when we're young and we have someone that just decides to walk away and come back and not think that they're the boss, but just because of age, they, you know, us adults present them with authority. It's like the younger kind would just look at them like, what are you doing here? Like, you left, not us.
Like, you have no authority in this space, you chose to leave. Like, this is, like, you can't just claim that again.
Do you feel like Soledad, you feel like Flocka sometimes blames Soledad for her aunt's sickness?
For her aunt's sickness?
For Olivia. Because you know Olivia and Flocka are like extremely connected.
Yeah, I think Flocka solely blamed Soledad for that. Because it was after Soledad had left that she started reacting like that. Like maybe a few months or so after she shut down.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. I think also too, I think she blames her for her being in it for so long too. And then like, even there was a scene where it was Olivia and then Flocka was on one side and Soledad was on one side, and like, I can't remember what exactly happened, but I remember the tension in the room and how like Soledad barely said anything and Flocka was like really like caring for her mom, kind of almost showing like, I've been here, like I'm like her daughter and you're not. And I thought it was very interesting because I know she did it to be spiteful, but also because she just loves Olivia that much too.
And you know, like Olivia will, how do you say that? When Flocka was a baby, Olivia will breastfeed him. That same thing.
I thought that was a mother basically missing. That felt like she missed out on a lot, because she did say that Soledad never breastfed from her, and Soledad was the daughter that it's like crossing the street. She's like, I got it, mommy. Oh, I can do it. I can button my own stuff. I can do my own hair. Soledad was very independent, and as a mom, you feel like, shit, my daughter's just growing up, so she found comfort in Flocka, of like a child, a mom.
I think you could see that in the beginning when the whole water issue, when she's giving her a glass of water and she just keeps pouring water, and she's like, why won't you drink a glass of water from me? I'm trying to be nice from you. And then she sees that her mom is like getting really pissed off, and she just like tunes out, and she starts thinking about going away, like thinking about the art gallery and how she got into this good school and whatnot. And I think that she just wanted out, and her mom felt like she never needed her. I think that was one of the things in the relationship, that her mom was like, you never needed me, because she figured out college on her own. She figured out a job. She figured out how she's gonna leave. Like, she had her escape plan. And because I guess she figured, I have this toxic relationship at home. I can't live like this. I need to leave. And I don't care if I'm, she's she's not dorming. She's living in an apartment, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, why didn't you stay with your mother and just commute to school, right?
She
So
felt like she needed to get
that's
out
how
so
bad
yeah.
she felt that she needed to get out. That she's went and rented an apartment with her friend, and she's paying for it on her own. And she's like, I don't need you. You know, I'm coming. And even the scene when she's coming back to her mom, she's like so annoyed at her family, at the comments that they're making, that I'm just, sometimes I feel like Soledad, because I'm just like, what are you people talking about?
I feel like we've all been there when we hit that kind of age, and I would say like later puberty, where it's like, okay, you're ready to get up, go to college, go away, be away from your parents, and start learning how to be independent. I tried that. I tried leaving a few times from my mom's house, ended up leaving, and I still am at my mother's house almost every 3 to 4 times a week. But I feel like that's probably what she had to go through, that phase, to be able to strengthen the bond with her mom, or to be able to come back and start to want to worry and actually care for her mom.
Yeah, but they made her come back though. She didn't come back just because she.
That's true. That is true.
Sometimes you gotta twist an arm.
That was Gorda just like telling her what's going on. Why are you not here? Well, come see your mother. And she's like, I've been gone for more than 22 months.
Yeah.
She says. So she hasn't come back home in 2 years. And her mom has been sick all this time. So I guess she's been calling and saying, is she dead yet? Because she's like, I thought I was going to come back and find her dead.
I remember when I was born here, and when I moved here, to actually stay and not go back and forth, my family expected me to do my mom's paper. Like right there, I was 18. Okay, so here, do it, and I took like forever. And like every month, I would hear my aunt saying like, "So when are you bringing your mother? When are you bringing your mother? When are you bringing your mother?" And I'm like, probably I don't need her here right now. So I kind of felt like Soledad. Like sometimes I would like dream about my mom dying, or like someone calling me in the middle of the night, like, oh, your mom passed, whatever. And I think that was my only fear. And when I would like actually think about, okay, I should bring her here, and then I was like, no, I'm not ready. You know, like I need that space.
I feel like that's usually the bond within a daughter and a mother. I don't know if it's just hormones or stuff, where it's like at that 17, 18, 19-year-old, I can tell you that my mom did, me and my mom, we couldn't even be in the same room sometimes at that age. And now it's like I'm calling her every single night, just having a phone call or whatever.
Because you matured.
Yeah, because you matured at that age as a female. It's like you just want to escape. You don't want to listen to anyone. You want to have your fun, do things at your own time.
Yeah.
And then once you finally get there, you're just like, shit, I kind of need someone to talk to. I want to talk to my mom or this and that.
I haven't read it, but I'm listening to everything you guys are saying. And sometimes you need the distance. Sometimes distance makes the heart go farther. I'm not quite sure the relationship she had with her mom, but she kind of sounds like it wasn't there. Which is kind of sounds like me and my mom. Like I live with her, but it's like I'm in the house. Please.
You're two different people, and
Yeah, this is my
no longer
long
have
time.
anything in common.
Yeah. And I kind of see that she tries, and it's just like, I don't know. It's like weird. Like, I love you, you my mom, but okay, leave me alone.
It's also because we don't think that our parents have been through what we're probably going through emotionally, mentally.
Because they don't talk about it.
They don't. They really don't. They do not.
It's a mystery. And then they also normalize it. So it's like when you ask them about things, it's like, it's not a big deal. Like I was having a conversation with my mom about, you know, how in DR at 14, 15, they married you off, right? And that's normal for them. I mean, that's the age my grandmother got married and she had 10 kids. But that was normal back then. So, you know, I'll be shocked about him. Like, oh my God. And my mom is like, eso no es nada. You know, that's how it is, you know? You can't, how do you debate that? I mean, that was the custom.
Yeah, and we're also we're also like completely different generations because they were so like everything was like so constricted, and we're like in a sense, more liberated, more, liberal. And it's like, what they see, what we might see wrong in their doing, they might see wrong in our doing. And it's like, no, this is like normal. Like,
Right.
what do you... So, I could see how that, But I'm excited to read this. I feel like I want to cry.
I probably will. When I was chapter 10. Last chapter.
When I was like, I remember also like when I was in high school, I wanted to go to college and like go somewhere else, not here in New York. And my aunt, she was like, if you leave, you don't come back.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, so
Come back.
yeah, no, I was scared, so I was like, okay, I'm staying here. And then when I was like 20 something, like I had this opportunity to move to Texas to do teaching fellows over there, and I was so excited about it. And I told my aunt, and my aunt was like, if you leave, don't come back.
Your aunt is a hater. Like, what?
So like. It was confusing. It was like, what do you want from me? Do you love me? What is it? You don't want to be by yourself? Is this not like?
Yeah, combination of all that.
Yeah, it's definitely that was definitely fear based.
She didn't. I don't think she did.
I didn't go, but not because of my aunt.
I would hope not.
And sometimes our parents' generations can't visualize these things because it wasn't opportunities that they had available for them when they were that age, right? So the possibility that you could travel abroad with college or whatever, they're like, what? Yeah. And to them it's just like so outlandish that what they can't see, they don't see it as possible. So they'll tell you, how are you gonna make this happen? There's no way. If you leave, you better figure it out, or don't come back.
That's the thing that like that annoyed me the most. When like I knew from when I was in 8th grade that I was gonna go away to college, and I argued with my mom till she dropped me off at college. Every single day we like argued endlessly, and something I never could figure out is like, you left your entire country for a better opportunity. I'm only going 5 hours away. Like I couldn't see like how she didn't see the way that she left her country to come to a whole different country as like the reason for me to leave. Like,
because your struggle wasn't hers.
Exactly.
It's too different.
But it still doesn't make sense to me. Like, it still doesn't.
Yeah.
I think they are scared, but it's just like
a combination of all that.
You should like I always told her, it was just like, Mom, but like, you raised me. Like, you should trust that like you
But
did
they don't
want to
see you fail. Like going away and like coming back. Like,
yeah, but I had
somehow
many
you were not
conversations with her. It was just like,
able
I'm
to
sitting
make
here, I
it.
am failing.
Yeah, exactly. If they only understood that we won't progress in life unless we take some chances, some risks. Like, if we stay stagnant somewhere, we're never gonna go anywhere. If they would understand that, life would be so much easier. Cause no, they just want to have you under their wing, and it's like, okay, I'm an adult.
It's funny though, I don't have any kids, so I can't really speak from that perspective. But I have, my brother and I go back and forth, and I say, there's like this mom and dad gene that goes off as soon as you have a kid. And I imagine that I'm going to understand so much more about like...
Me too.
You know what I mean?
I don't have any kids, but... it's
Because like, look, my brother's just turned 20. Well, and I'll say when he was 18, 19, around that age, I would tell him certain things, and he's like, what are you saying, bro? Like, you sound just like mom and dad. And I'm like, I know, it's so weird, but trust me, like, this makes sense. And like, so looking back at that age, it's like, he would even tell me, yeah, but you did it. And I'm like, yeah, but that was me.
That's over the top, that was me.
Yeah, and I think it's like, lucky. I'm capable, like, I'm aware of my capabilities, and I don't know what might happen to you, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I feel like that's the fault though. Like, I don't think I'll ever have a mom and dad gene. Like,
Never say never.
do you like feel? No, I know for a fact. Like, the things I went through with my mom, I never want my child to go through with me. And, like,
but you probably use it to better your future child's future.
Oh, for sure. So like, I know like even with my nieces now, like, I am very clear on times where I'm just like, you shouldn't do that in my head. But in my soul is just like, hey, Mom, right behind you just in case. Like, and that's just the way that I want like kids deserve to explore, people deserve to explore, they deserve to imagine. Like my issues and my faults and my fears cannot be anyone else's fears. And I feel like that's what parents do to us.
Yeah, they put their fears onto their children.
Our parents are more of like, no, you shouldn't do this. No, don't do that. And yet we'll always guide ourselves to the opposite route and try it and stuff like that. Versus having that open conversation. Well, if you do this, this is what's gonna happen. Versus if you don't do this, this is what's gonna happen. So giving a child, probably our next generation, giving the child an option versus of telling them which way to go is gonna be the different.
And I think
Of
of
what
being
we're
more
about.
open to, like, Olivia was very closed off with Soledad. And, like, she never shared any of her stories. And she went through a lot. She went through a lot.
She was probably ashamed.
Like,
somehow.
Well,
And so
given
the
her
beach-
past, yeah, that makes sense.
Not just her past, like with Manolo, just
Yeah, that
the life
alone.
out of her. Like,
and her having to ship away Soledad. I remember in the beginning of the book, she got shipped to DR and she was just like, well, my mom doesn't want me. And in the end, like, you find out that she got shipped because it just made it easier to live with him, to not have her there.
but then it's bad for Soledad because it's like child neglection, and that's what she grew up with.
And that's why she was
Wanting-
reflecting it. It
And
makes
wanting
sense.
to leave.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
We're surviving. I remember a few weeks ago I had this conversation with my mom when I was like telling her, have you realized that we don't do what you tell us not to do, but we tend to do what we see you do?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, don't do this, but then like years later we end up doing it, but then like it's complicated. And she was just like looking at me like, I'm like, yeah, like, have you realized I do everything you have done, like, or at least close to it, instead of like, I'm like, lead by example, lady. And she was just looking at me like,
In their head, it's not like that.
No.
In their head, you do what I say, and that's it.
That's the Caribbean parent model.
Yeah. I do what I say, and that's it.
this morning
Don't
I said,
question me.
Yeah, don't
No,
question.
it.
you know what's funny, this morning I said something to my mom and she took back, and I was like, don't talk back, and you stay quiet once, because you always have to say something back. And she was like, that's right, you're the mother.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I am at that stage with my mom where I have to tell her like, Ma, you una adulta. Dime. You wanna keep treating me like a kid for the rest of my life? Like I'm an adult. Like.
And it's so annoying sometimes, like when it's raining, she's like, it's raining. I'm like, I have the weather app on my phone. And she's like, for once, can you just say like, yes, mom, it's raining, thank you. And I'm like, no, because I'm not like that.
I started doing that at like 14, and my life with my mom got so much easier. After that, I'm just like, you got it. I'll never forget.
But I can though. It's like so hard to me to just go along
Be
with
like,
her.
ask your mommy, and when you walk out there, you be like, I have the weather app.
And break the umbrella. and throw it in the
I can't. One day I'm getting ready to go to work, and she's like, oh, I had this dream. Be careful with your wallet. And I'm like, why? So all day I was walking with my wallet in my hands, and I got home. I'm like, you see, nothing happened.
Well, there you go. When Soledad arrives and her aunt and her grandmother is talking about, she's resolving issues in her sleep. And then they talk about how all the santos have turned their back on their mother. And I'm like, what? You know, but they really believe in these things.
Yeah.
Even though Soledad is like, they're like, you know, doctors are like mechanics. They just go in there and try to tweak something, and they end up leaving you worse. And Soledad is like, you should take her to a doctor because they'll find out what's really going on. But they're like, no, let her resolve her issues in her sleep. You know, like they have this grand knowledge of these things, when clearly the woman is in a fucking coma. You know,
I
and
also believe that in Hispanic culture, mental disorder and mental disability and depression is something that is very
taboo.
Not
like
spoken about.
not spoken about at all. And
But they don't consider that a mental health
no,
issue.
They don't.
They didn't consider it.
Reza al Espíritu Santo.
Yeah.
And si te sueñas con un número, juega el otro.
They consider that, you know, that she was just having like some spiritual battles within her, and just had to just rest to deal with her past and her present, which
And
is
they have like stories to validate of other people
Right.
who have like these experiences just slept
Right.
through it and just like now they're fine. It's just
Mhm.
like there's always a story behind like why this is.
And I
okay
could just
about it.
imagine Soledad rolling her eyes.
Well, in that sense, I would say I'm very much like her because I believe in the tangible and the
Yes,
rational.
right.
And so like I stopped talking about the lotto in my house years ago because my dad freaking wins the lotto every single time he plays. So like me, I'm like I wish I could tell you like stop playing the lotto. I mean, he's like, yeah, but I win, and I'm like, yeah, but you lose as much as you win.
Well, he believes in the tangible because he's winning.
Maybe, but so when it came to the part about like, I don't know how. I mean,
Just go ahead. I'm gonna read it.
okay, like there's parts in the book that like some things happen, and I feel like it made me roll my eyes, but I have to accept it as part of my culture.
Culture, right.
It's very.
When all the men started, all the ghosts of the men started walking around.
I was like, man.
It's like the
I
Christmas
just closed
story.
it. I was like, it's not for bad, bro.
But a lot of people believe in that. Like I remember, like a friend of mine, she was in this new relationship, and her mom was like, "You have to throw the mattress away."
I am very.
That's you.
This is where me and him differentiate a lot.
Just change the
I
sheets.
believe in real spirits, but I do believe in people carrying energy. I'm very. I strongly believe it, and if I'm around someone and I feel like the energy is not up to par, I am quick to get away.
So you're cleaning your house with Palo Santo.
Yes.
And all that. Oh, look at him.
After
He's
my
like, don't
house
talk
burning,
about
I
that.
definitely did. It's just you just feel like off balance, and I know that no one. I don't really believe in actual spirits, but I do believe in things happening in and out. Like I just moved into a new apartment, and I was telling him I was just like, at one night I woke up and I literally felt like someone was walking. I was half asleep. Someone was walking towards me, and I'm trying to yell, but I can't, and the person vanishes into my face. Yes.
So the thing about stuff like that, not to cut you off, but the thing about stuff,
It's crazy.
I went to school for neuro, right? And so like my dad, he said, "Saber demasiado hace daño," right? So, but my point is, I went to school for neuro, and we read tons of papers on sleep paralysis, and anybody who experiences sleep paralysis has like this particular part of their brain that's very active. And
So
it
you know
helps
the
you imagine.
scientific
So when I read
reason.
this, I'm like, just,
But she's not going with that.
which is cool, she could.
She's gonna keep using her Palo Santo.
I would think both are just as valid.
Yeah.
You know, one is Western
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
exactly.
medicine,
Yeah, and the
the
other
one
one.
is the real thing.
She got it.
Yeah, that's what y'all think, man. I find comfort in knowing that this is the plane where.
But how much are you missing in this comfort? Like
Really?
not exploring it, like how you could attach to a world you can't see. Like a lot, like if you're always thinking, okay, well this happens because this part of my brain does this. Like, what about the rest of your body though, and the way it connects to everything? Like when you experience love, like it's just everything in your body feels it.
Well, there's a neurological explanation
That's
to
just-
that, to why people fall in love.
But I just.
Why you feel like heartbroken and all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, look it up. There's a connection. There's a neurological explanation to that.
It's the same stuff as drugs.
It's the same as addiction.
It's a-
Like dopamine and
Yeah.
That's it.
hmm
Dopaminergic pathways that release.
It's like, why do people feel heartbroken
Yeah.
and all that? You could look it up. It's really interesting. What's the next one?
I don't know, cause I'm not done with the book yet, but I'm curious to know how Manolo died.
Oh,
Oh
you
man.
got it.
They finished it, and you finished it.
So I know how they met because I skipped through. I was too curious and I skipped through it. But I'm very curious to know.
So I think it was Olivia having a flashback or Soledad having a flashback. Soledad
it
was
was
having a
Soledad.
flashback, and they were remembering of her. Manolo was literally like half out the window. They live on a 5th floor. He was half out the window trying to fix something with the shade or something like that on the outside of the window, and he was telling Olivia to bring him a screwdriver. And she said, "Oh, well, I'm putting Soledad to bed first, so give me a second." He's like, "No, I need it now. This is nice." I guess they hyped her up, they got her angry, and it got to the point that she started arguing with him while he was still on the ledge of the window, and she ended up just pushing him off.
She ended up picking up his leg, right? And like she actually went to go grab the gun out of his drawer.
Yes, and the
so
gun was not.
I think she tried to bring the gun out to make it seem like it was a fire accident or something like that. And she was like rationalizing with herself, well, like, oh, well, he's always taking risks, so nobody's gonna blame it on me. They're not gonna suspect me. They're gonna know that he was out the window. And I think that's where it finally clicked to me. The part in the beginning of the book where you say she's fighting over the water, like, please just drink the water. She screams at Olivia screams at Soledad and says, when are you gonna forgive me? And I think that's what she's talking about.
So you think Soledad knows that she
She
killed?
knows because
She
she
knows.
actually got up from bed.
She was there because she kept screaming at her to tell her to get out of the room, get out of the room.
So does Soledad remember that?
Yeah.
I think that's the flashback.
That's
Soledad's
Soledad's the
having.
one having the flashback. And then she remembers that Manolo obviously tumbles down to the first floor of the concrete or whatever. And Soledad's mom, Olivia, was telling her to call 911. And I think that was around the part where Soledad's grandfather dies and Victor, her uncle, is telling her to call 911, and that's when she has the flashback because that's when she actually
She got
pulls up.
triggered
Yeah.
with the
I think
911.
that's exactly what happened. Yeah. So even on the way down, as her mother is running down the steps, she's like, oh my God, I can't go to jail. Wait, they're not going to suspect me because blah, 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 blah. Well, it was self-defense. No, it wasn't self-defense. It was an accident, you know? So she's like, she's going down the steps and like during this whole thing down, she's like, it's just crazy.
But also used to beat her and abuse her and everything for probably a decade or so.
I think that's why she says self-defense. And then she thinks to herself, well, if I do self-defense, I'm going to go to jail regardless. But, you know, if I say it's an accident, then I have nothing to do with it. It just, he falls out the window.
It was like a back and forth with Olivia and Soledad because Olivia is like flashing back also to that part in her life, and she was saying, I can feel the throbbing in my head after the blow he had just hit her from the night before. And at that point was when she had reached her maximum.
Her breaking point.
Yeah. R.I.P. Manolo.
Gang, gang.
But
Nobody cared about Manolo.
Seriously, no.
when Soledad goes back after all this month of not being, you know, home, she mentioned something about damn, I forgot. She mentioned something about she goes to her mom's and she says something about, I have a secret to tell you about that.
That's when Flaca interrupted her and Flaca
Yeah.
was making the whole jealousy thing. But as the chapter goes through, I mean, as you go through, I think in chapter 8 or 9, her secret is they give a flashback to Soledad, and her secret is basically that at one point Manolo had touched her. We don't know at what age that was, and we don't know how continuous it is, because she doesn't really get in depth into it. I don't know if it was like around chapter 11 towards the last chapter, but they do mention that, and I believe that that's something that she probably wanted to tell her mom, as in, you weren't the only one that was getting hurt by him. Because she probably felt that her mom did feel that it's her fault that Manolo's not in the picture and that they're struggling and stuff like that, because Manolo was the bread maker, the home, like the head of household at that point. But yeah, that's basically probably what she wanted to tell her mom.
She gonna start reading.
I mean, I tried reading it, so I'm like, I don't want to seem rude, but I want to read it.
I think to that point, it is extremely, it's extremely disgusting, but unfortunately, it's a truth that I think most of us know that within, I can't speak for any culture outside of this one, but within the Latin community, you know too many stories of sexual abuse and molestation, and it's just like even at one point when is his name Peter? Right? Where he grabs Flaca and he's just like, come here. Like, we all grew up saying that on the block, like, where you going? And that turned much more forceful than it needs to. You know what I mean? Like, and it's so funny, like,
It just speaks to the fact that women aren't, like, our bodies aren't ours, and it's still like that in DR, right? Unfortunately, girls don't have full autonomy of their bodies. Men feel that if they take you out or they do, or you ask them for anything, they own you, and you have no right to have an opinion.
And if you think about it, Pito was the same age as Richie, and Richie was already in his 20s. So Pito is a lot older than Flaca. Flaca is barely like just 14, 15 years old. So now you're just trying to do something with a minor, just because she's inexperienced or whatever. And then she's just gonna go for it because at that age range, it's like, oh, you know, it's normal, it's cool, whatever. I think it's time for me to experiment a little more. So you don't know any better.
I think like Flaca in that situation, like she said no several times, and she pushed his hand away. But eventually, because she wanted it so badly to be Richie, she just imagined that it was Richie, and convinced herself that this is what she wanted. And she was 14 when she like allowed her brain to tell her, this is what I want because I want it with this person, but I'm getting it from this person, so I should just take what I get.
AKA devaluing herself at an early age. As in, okay, I can't get that, so I'm just settle.
There's a question here. I'm gonna ask you guys. Near the end of the book, Soledad observes that her family thinks of Washington High as a temporary home until the time comes when they can return to the Dominican Republic. Do you think this is true of everyone in the family? Who might not feel this way and why?
So this is something, it ties into something I was going to say earlier when we talk about like people who are from the island and not. My mom and dad are both originally from the island, but my mom came here when she was 18, and her situation here is completely different from my father's. So even though they're similar in age, my dad is retired, and they flew out like 3 weeks ago to the Dominican Republic. But my mom came back. My dad stayed out there. He's retired. He doesn't want to stay here anymore, and that's part of like the disconnect that they're having now.
How old was your dad when he came here?
In his 30s, I want to say.
So that makes a huge
it's
difference.
Completely different. I mean, he spent more time out of the country than he has here, though, because from 18 he moved to Venezuela, and then from Venezuela he came here. But
the older you are, that you come here, the least you feel that you belong here and you want to go back home.
Yeah. So, and I see that with my father, because my mom is like, ideally, if it was up to me, I'd have a house on the beach and I'd visit there on the cold months. But my dad is like...
Except my mom, she's a traitor. My mom came here at 27, and when she goes to DR, she's like, nope. I'm going back. I can't be in that country for more than a week. And she will not retire over there. If I die, bury me here. She wants nothing to do. She says that she was born in the wrong place.
Oh wow, no. See, my family.
And she didn't have any terrible experience. She didn't experience Trujillo and all that craziness. None of that.
Yeah, my dad.
So she doesn't have any traumatic experience from the island that will keep her, trigger her to not go back. She just prefers the U.S.
Both my parents, I also do think it depends on how they were raised there. Both my parents came around the 70s, so like in their early 20s. My mom was raised in a campo lifestyle versus my father was raised in a more city lifestyle. So my dad, it's like, my father brought property there, like he's ready to go. My mother, try to get her on a plane. Try to get her across the street out of the house.
That's true.
Wow.
That's a hassle and a half. And she doesn't. Both of my grandparents were buried in Dominican Republic, and it's been, I would say, almost 10 years, and she hasn't seen there.
Really?
Just because she refuses to fly out there.
Look at that.
She's like, for what? And it's like, when you think about it, it's like they were raised in the campos, like their land is already sold. It's not like they can just buy. Yeah, it's not like just going home. It's like you're staying in someone else's house instead, versus here to her, this is already home. Like she has her place, she has her apartment, like she doesn't have to move anywhere. Versus there, it's like a struggle for her.
Right.
So to her, it would be like a starting over. Versus to my dad, it's like as a young person, at a young age, he laid a foundation for himself. So now when he decides to go back, he's fine. Like he has his property, he has this, he has that.
But she has a home now with him over there. She could go. Oh, okay.
But you know, like, I'm taking this class with like people from other countries, and they have shared how their hometowns, you know, like in Mexico or like Costa Rica and stuff like that, are kind of empty now because everybody has like moved somewhere else, especially like here to the United States. And I'm like, besides those stories that we have, like our parents like don't want to go back. Mostly like the Dominican dream is like make your money here so you could go back over there, you know.
I'm not sure how my mom feels, but my dad is very adamant about not going back. He came back. He came, and he has not gone back. I'm 30. My sister's 34, and I don't think he's been back since my sister.
You look
was
22.
born. Thank you. Thank you. And he's like, no, I don't want to go back. For what? For what?
He doesn't have family over there, siblings, nothing.
Well, my dad is much older. My dad is. He lied about his age all the damn time. But I think he's in his 70s. And no, like, well, my grandfather, but my grandfather is over there, like, sick. His mom died at a really young age. And yeah, he's like, no, I don't want to go over there for what.
And your mom wants to go?
My mom just came back, but
Okay.
it's kind of like the same thing. Once my great grandmother died, I feel like everybody's like connection to the over there, like, I don't know. It's like we don't have a home, like, cause they sold it, like, and it's like there's a lot of chaos. Cause even my grandmother, like, she would rather not go. And it's like, yo, that's your home. Like, why don't you want to go back? Like, and now I say I don't want to go because I don't have nowhere to go. Like, I don't want to go to DR and stay like in a resort. That's sucky.
There's Airbnbs.
Yeah, but it's nothing like being in your land and being in your home. Like, if you don't have a home to stay, it's like, okay, so then why am I going? Like, for what? Like,
So a lot of Dominicans now are getting dual citizenship, so they could buy property over there.
Yeah.
This is true.
Your
Property,
age,
but I also
yeah,
think that people in our age should pay attention a lot
the
to
third generation, the second and third generation are buying property in DR, and they're going back.
That's, I feel like
They're
that's the
figuring it
smartest
out.
thing, yeah.
I just had a friend of mine the other day she's like, I gotta go to the Dominican consulado, and I'm like, for what? She's like, I gotta finish getting my my cedula. I'm like, what? Because I know she's like in her late 40s, and then she's like, yeah, I'm moving, I'm leaving. And I'm like, oh my God. And you know, just I know a few people that have just left and bought property over there, or that, you know, and they're young, they're in their 30s, and they're like, I'm out.
Yeah, my parents.
After Trump, everybody's like
I'm leaving.
even more motivated to get out.
My parents, they're still waiting for their right time to go back.
But
Like,
they know they're going back.
they know they're going back. They've been going back for like 30 years and never actually made it. So I'm just like, when are you actually leaving? My dad had planned to go back, I think the beginning of this month, like January, and he's still here. Like, I had to beg him, because I'm going to DR in a few weeks, and I had to beg him to buy his flight, because like my family's dispersed all over, and this will be like the first time in like 6 years that all of us will be together, and so I really want him to go, so he finally buys ticket. Yay. But for them, it's always a temporary place. This is a temporary place for them, and going back is home. But like, listening to what you guys said, it's like they have a house, they have property there, they have businesses there. Like, they've created a dual life where they're like in DR and also here. So like for them, like, they're always preparing to go back. And my mom, she wants to be where her kids are. So like, if we're here, she's definitely
That's my home.
yeah.
That's my home.
Why do you think Olivia named her daughter Soledad?
She actually says it.
It sounds like when she was probably.
It's like the last page.
Maybe that's where she was at in life. Like, she felt that way.
The loneliness.
Yeah.
She says, she tells me about the day that I was born, how when she first looked down at me, so tiny and vulnerable, she named me Soledad. My name means loneliness in Spanish, the language my mother spoke and dreams in. She said this name would open people's heart to me and make them listen. She thought with a name like Soledad, I would never be alone. AKA her mom always felt alone.
But she even said even earlier than that, at some point her eyes changed color, similar to her mother's. And she said something like, oh, it's because you have the sadness that belongs to me in you. And so yeah, I think it was
That when she cries, her eyes go like greenish. Because along the book, I think it was like in chapter 10 or 11, the ghost men start showing up, which is all the men from her past. And in that, it gave Soledad a symbolism of Manolo's not her true father, but one of these men could be her father. Just because she always felt out of place, as in her hair was always straight, her skin was a little more paler than everyone else. So she always did feel out of place. And then her mom told her in the sense of when you would cry, your eyes would go more greener because that's basically my sadness, aka Soledad's mom was always in her.
That also tied into why Manolo was so angry with her so often, because he knew that she wasn't his. So that's why she used to ship her off in her summer, so they had an easier time, because I guess seeing her triggered him and he would inflict that on Olivia.
And he will call her your daughter. Instead of my daughter.
Okay. Anybody else want to contribute anything?
I think that also in terms of the title, it speaks a lot about some of the characters in terms of their own loneliness, like with Soledad not fitting in with the culture, like the mom not feeling the role anymore of the mother and the wife also, so she doesn't have a place in the world anymore, or like some role to fulfill. And then also the grandmother as well, how with Ciego she could experience some sort of closeness, and she even loved his touch, even though she was already married, but her husband wouldn't pay attention to her. And then with Flaca basically being just all over and trying to experience life on her own, even though she's really young. So in a way, all these women feel lonely, and also they sort of, even through their own sexual experiences, they feel some sort of comfort. Like Flaca with Pito, even though, it's wrong, but in a way she sort of felt some sort of comfort there. And then Soledad, both with Richie, but also with her friend, what's her name? Carmel. I was like Caramelo. Friend Carmel. And again, the grandma with Ciego. And even Gorda in her dreams that she had with what was her husband? Raful, yeah. I was like Raful, yeah. So in a way, yeah, they all felt lonely, and even through those sexual experiences that weren't really the ones that they were planning to have, but in a way they feel some sort of comfort by being close to another human being.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that has a lot to do with neglect. Just being neglected by someone that you expect to be there. So with Gorda, Raful just got up and left, and she felt empty. With Doña Sosa, which is the grandmother, she just felt like she was just taking care of the grandfather and of Fernando, and he wouldn't even get up from bed, so she just felt like he wouldn't even talk back to her at one point, because he just got to that phase in his life. So it was just
he also had a stroke, right? So
yeah,
we don't know
he
how
got up
much
to
of
a
that
point
is.
where he couldn't do anything. So it was just like, okay, I have to do everything, but I'm being neglected of like.
But she was so strong at the same time too.
Yeah.
Like
Strength can take you so far.
Yeah.
Until
But
you
besides
start
everything she was,
wanting.
going through, her
Yeah.
character, like, had this resilience of, like, taking care of Olivia, Gorda's still at home, Victor.
Yeah, the neglect of wanting to have her wants.
Yeah.
Because it was always of her taking care of everyone else
It
versus.
sounds like a generational trauma that's been like passed down, like, and it's real life. Like, I feel like we all experience it. We carry our mother's traumas, our grandma's traumas, our ancestors' traumas, because they didn't deal with it, and it gets passed on through us through the womb. Like, whatever they feel, we feel, and we come into the world, and it's like we're don't know what's happening, but we feel all these emotions because it's like, you know, passed down. And, you know, it sucks. It really, really sucks. But, you know,
It's reality.
yeah, it's a reality. And it's a reality that we have to, like, work, like, put our foot forward to work on. So we could, like, break that generational, like, that gap.
Not make a mental health issue a taboo anymore.
Yeah, like not make it that. Like work through it and be like, okay, this is what's going on with me. I understand this. Okay, what do I need to do? Like, so it won't. Like,
That kind of stuff doesn't exist in our culture. It's more like man up, you know. Like I remember
definitely like
when I was in junior high school, the counselor called my aunt like, oh, you need to come, so we could talk about Julissa, this and that. And my aunt was like, yeah, sure. And then she hung up and she was like, you don't pay the bills, you have clothes, you have food, you have somewhere to live. I ain't going nowhere. You fine, you know. And I was like,
sucks.
yeah, I was like, no,
But
Yeah.
and it's like you're so young, and it's like, damn, like, okay, I get it. You're going through your stuff.
It's like kids have no right to experience
Not
stress
nothing, or question anything or
any
say anything.
emotional
Like,
or mental health issues. Nothing.
And
You
you-
got no problems. All you gotta do is
Get good grades.
get
Yeah,
good
that's your
grades.
job. Go to school and get a good grade. And graduate, and that's it. And you will hear them say like, especially like, adults from over there, like, oh, en Santo Domingo tú no oyes eso de ADHD and autism and none of that. Eso that's here. Like,
okay, with
es que aquí
that,
son muy ñoños.
sí, también, no, pero también we experience 4 seasons. So, we experience 4 seasons, and out of those 4, 2.5 of them were in clothes. Everybody over there is always outside. So, the kids might have ADHD, but they're outside all the time playing. Like, we're here in clothes, like, pasando frío.
Over here, you put on your clothes, you take it off. Put it on, take it
Yeah,
off. It's always in the
damn.
Especially the train station, the one that gets me the most pissed. Because I'm just like, I just came out from being freezing. Now my armpits are itching, I'm hot, and there's so many people in here. And like, what am I supposed to do? Like,
I think I know we're like wrapping up soon. I think, but I just wanted to say that the book, I think, from start to finish, the Dominicanisms and the different things that symbolize being Dominican, I thought it was beautifully done. Like just the things that symbolize being Dominican were sometimes they were in your face, but sometimes they were just so subtle. And like if you didn't know, you wouldn't have picked up on it. And it was just like. It was like a subtle wink, like you know what I'm talking about, you know. And I thought it was beautifully done. So yeah, a lot of that is what I appreciated about the book.
Sorry.
I personally would like to know people's opinion when they finish the book, because me and him have been going on an argument, because I feel like Soledad dies, but he says she washes up shore and she's alive. I'm not sure. I don't know if anyone got to that part.
Part 2. No. She's
Like, wait. No, there isn't. I don't think Angie's writing a sequel to the book.
Soledad Part
Her
2. third novel is Dominicana. And Dominicana is going to be part of the November book club.
Okay.
Maybe it'd be the 4th book.
And she's writing
I don't
one
know.
for. I mean, she wrote her second book is for the August.
The second book is August, yes. So
When I got the book, I was like 100% sure I was just gonna read it, you know, for the sake of the book club. That I was not gonna be able to identify myself with like anything going on there. So I was like, okay, there's a gorda in my house, there's a flaca in my house, there's a soledad.
By the way, you guys think about it, I feel like it's my whole family. I'm gonna cry.
I remember I told my mom when I was younger one day, like, oh, you're not my mom anymore. Maritza is my mom. Now that's my aunt. And I would tell my little cousin, you know, your mom is not your mom. You adopted. Because my aunt, like my baby cousin was so similar to my mother in so many things. And I was so like, they would like vegetables and like have this random conversation. And I'm like my aunt, like I like to dance, I like to drink and all that stuff. But my cousin is not like
It's
that.
called genes.
So growing
DNA.
up, I will make my baby cousin cry like, you know you adopted, right? Like, look at your mom, like we look alike. Like you white and you have like good hair and like you almost
They
blonde.
switched you at birth.
Yeah.
I used to tell my brother we found him in the tribe soon.
But now that I'm grown, I think probably how my mother felt when I told her, you're not my mom, Marisa is my mother, because of our connection. And when I saw like the relationship with like Soledad and Gorda and Flaca and Olivia, I was like,
It's very
wow.
common.
So
And
it
it's very,
really
I feel
did.
like it's very common in, I don't want to say Hispanic, but in a Caribbean household where you entrust in someone that is not your parent. I think we can all speak to that, and the fact that it's like, oh, if you're about to get your period, who's the first one to tell you? It's not your mother, it's probably your aunt, or it's probably your cousin, your
cool
older
aunt,
cousin.
you know,
Yeah. How
And they
I
will
talk
feel
to
so
your
proud
other
about
son.
it.
Yeah.
Like they,
Yeah, my mom got me gold earrings when I got my first menstrual, and I was just like,
Thanks.
my mom told everybody, and people would look
Yeah,
at me
it
like,
was-
congratulations, and I'm like, for what?
You know,
for what? I'm in pain right now. I am dying.
When nobody is celebrating over here.
Not
I
celebrating.
don't know what's going on. I think I got my period. Okay. That's it.
My mom never had a conversation with me. She was just like, I just woke up. Lucky enough, I saw a movie coincidentally the day before where the girls were freaking out, and then I realized that was a period, and that's how I learned about it. And then I go to my mom, and I was like, Ma, I think I have my period. She's like, ¿Qué tú no sabes de esas cosas? I'm just like, no, it's there. She's like, enséñame en el toilet, enséñame en el toilet. I had to walk her to the toilet to show her like, hello. And she was just like, you were just so young. I didn't expect you to have it at such a young age. And she's like, I didn't even have the chance to give you that conversation. I'm just like, I'm 11.
You think, yeah, think about it, your parents would not have had that conversation because our parents didn't speak about things like
Yeah,
that.
they probably didn't have a conversation.
Like my mom didn't talk about me, like what the consequences of what it meant. Like she never had the conversation with me.
Yeah, I never sat down and had the bees and the birds conversation with my
Me
mom.
either.
Ever. Like,
It was always, did your cousin
that was
tell you?
definitely high school that they started teaching us. Well, no, not high school, maybe junior high. Started teaching us that. But it was never like,
Yeah, I had a sex ed class.
yeah.
My mom was like, my mom was like, you going to that? Because she wasn't gonna have that conversation. She was like, the school could have it.
I was in
And even then, it's like, what is this that they're teaching in this class?
my first year in high school, my science class. I will never forget my teacher's name, Mr. Schaefer. He traumatized all of us.
I was like going to.
He put on a video, and it was this lady giving birth, and it was like, goddamn,
What?
Speaking about that.
like it was
Abstinence. That
like,
Yeah,
oh my
it was a
god.
shape, but it was just a shape. No, it wasn't. But for me, it was my junior year, and it's funny because that part came out of nowhere. There was no, and I just still normally, but everybody was.
No. I was like, oh my god, what is going on? This is wow.
So that was your introduction to
Yeah, that traumatized me. I don't want no kids. That's it. I'm good.
So I guess that was his birth control.
Birth
This is birth control.
It worked.
You don't want this?
This is
Don't
birth
do it.
I was like, because what, ninth grade, I was what, like 13? Yeah, I was 13, about to be 14. I'm like, oh my god, this is a lot. Damn.
How
I
many
still
of
be
you?
playing with my Barbie dolls. Like, yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry.
How many of you was this the first time reading a Dominican book?
I don't recall, but I would say it was my first time. Yeah.
So you
But
haven't
I've-
read any other Dominican
This is
authors?
gonna be the first one.
Oh wow.
So, but listening to everybody, I've heard of him, but I can't really recall if I read about him. But I remember hearing about him when I was in high school and college. But I can't really. Yeah, but I heard he's good.
I read Junto Diaz. What's
The Brief and Wondrous Life.
the Wondrous Life of, yeah, that one. I read that one.
Yeah, I read Julia Alvarez in The Time of Butterflies, which is a beautiful book. But this is the first time I identified with like.
You didn't
my-
identify with that book?
I also read it really young though. I was like in 8th grade when I read it, so maybe.
Well, maybe because that book is more historical fiction, then maybe you'll relate more to how the Garcia girls lost their accent.
Oh yeah,
I heard
I
that one.
heard
That one I heard is a really good book.
So I chose Soledad because it has a special meaning to me. Soledad was the first book that I read by a Dominican author. So when I was in college, I was taking creative writing classes, and I was reading other Caribbean authors, and something clicked in my mind, like, why am I not reading any Dominican Latino authors? And I didn't know any, and I had not read any. So I went on Google and I looked up these authors, and that's when I saw that we had Julia Alvarez, and who was the Dominican American author, and we had Juno Diaz and Angie Cruz. So I grew up on this block. I grew up on 164th Street. So I remember I found this book and I'm reading it, and I'm like, oh my God, I remember this corner. She's rounding that corner right there. I stopped at this, where this bodega was, or I could envision myself taking the same steps she took when she came out of the train station walking to her parents' house. To me, that was super familiar, and it was so, it was so crazy to be reflected to that point. To the point that it's even my block, I was able to relate so much to it, and even the relationship with the mother, her wanting to go away to college. I didn't go away to college because my mom was sick around that time, and I was like, I can't leave her, and I was like, besides my mother, I was like the head of the household, so my brothers were young, and I was like, my mom, they're gonna stress the hell out of my mom. So I stayed to take care of her, to make sure that, they wouldn't kill her, make her go crazy. But, so that's the significance that this book has for me, and why I wanted to share it with you all. So I'm glad that you were all decided to participate in this book club and read this book with me. Not with me, because I've been trying to reread it again. I don't remember it. But thank you for joining and being part of the first book club, and I hope to see your faces in the next one. The next one is let me turn this